everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of the TFL Podcast. So you guys have all seen Spittin' Chicklets in hockey, and so I think Lacrosse's version of it is due. And I thought for the first episode, I would bring in two of the greats of the game, and we're gonna round table a little bit, talk a little bit about lacrosse history and their history. So I started this thought process that you guys will remember this, sitting around my fire about 2 years ago when I had Gary Gate and Patrick Merrill from the Seals and John Grant and Casey Powell sitting around my fire. And I was like, I've got 4 of the first overall draft picks in pretty much, the National Lacrosse League draft. And man, what a great conversation that was that night. And here we are, 2 years later, and all of you guys are still superstars except Patrick. So
I'm not sure he ever was.
he wasn't, but he went first overall. So anyway, but the TFL Podcast, fellas, thanks for joining me. John Grant, Casey Powell, need no introduction. We can jump right into it, but happy to have you guys on the first episode of the TFL Podcast, Zoomcast right now.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, first I'd like to say that we have not all watched Spittin' Chicklets. Okay, maybe all Canadians have, but we have not all seen Spittin' Chicklets. But it's an honor to be on TFL.
Well, the joke, right now is that we got to get a vodka sponsorship. So I'll have to cut you guys in on the rights for a vodka sponsorship because you were on the first one, right? So
you owe me.
What's that?
You owe me anyway, so I'd like a little cut.
I'm sure I owe you something. So I'm going to jump right into this, and we're going to go way back to the Wayback Machine, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 1998 World Championships in Baltimore, Maryland at Hopkins at Homewood Field, hallowed ground for lacrosse, and not a box lacrosse discussion, but going back into the annals of history, arguably the greatest game, which is on YouTube for all those people out there that might pay attention to that. You can watch the second half. And enjoy it. You won't see Junior and I, but
nope.
Junior and I actually started in that game. Casey was on the other side of on the U.S. squad, and Junior and I lasted how long, Junes?
I don't know. I won't watch it because I know I wasn't going back in, so I may or may not have broken my shaft over my knee because I'm like. I could never score on salad. Yeah, me and you. I think the only time we really bonded was the two of us getting benched.
We were pouting on the sidelines.
Yeah, pouting together.
Yeah.
I turned back around and it was a high game. So
look. I mean, looking back on it, do you watch games, Casey? Do you go back and watch games?
Not a lot. I mean, I do see a certain degree of highlights, and to be honest, thinking back about that game and looking over on the sidelines, you guys all dyed your hair yellow that game, and.
We did that.
You couldn't tell one from the other, but
look what it did to us.
Would have done it again all over. But it was my first out of college playing, first international experience, and to go way back, I had met John in 7th grade lacrosse camp, and we kind of started to become friends and rivals all at the same time. We've kind of carried that path through, but that was a great game. It was a huge win by Team USA, and just another goal.
Was Junior retiring near that time frame? You were in 7th grade. How old was he?
I should have already been graduated college.
I don't know. He drove there. He did drive there, but my parents dropped me off.
Well, Casey must have cross-checked in the head as much as I have because it was actually high school lacrosse camp.
High school lacrosse camp. Casey was that good.
Well, me and Kluski went down there as like 25-year-olds, and Casey was actually a senior. Yeah, the two of us almost ended up at Q's together. So imagine what that would have been like.
Oh man.
Well, they couldn't have won any more.
Well, I think we would have won a couple more.
Yeah, we could.
Well, he won every time he was there.
If John Grant came to Syracuse, we would have won 3 more. For sure.
Well,
and I won.
You win 3 more? Didn't you win every year?
No, just one. I just got one.
I
hit the Princeton run of 3 in a row. My last game ever still kind of haunts me. Double donuts.
So let's move on. Obviously, '98 was painful for the Canadian side, and for those people that don't know, it ended. I think we were down 13-2, Junes, going into the fourth quarter. You and I had a good view of the scoreboard, and so going into the fourth quarter, we're down 13-2. Rodney Tapp takes over, wins all the faceoffs. So what was going on the sideline, Casey, with you guys? Because Tierney's vein was popping out of the side of his head. I think that was the origination of the forehead vein for Bill Tierney. Yeah,
I mean, it was definitely a crazy experience, and it was at Homewood Field and Johns Hopkins, and I just remember the international crowd there was a packed house, and everybody was rooting for the comeback. So it was on our home turf, and you'd think that the home crowd would be pro USA, but it felt the opposite. Everybody was kind of rooting for a good game, and that's really what it became. Tierney started going nuts, and a little preset history. Obviously, that time period, the Canadians weren't huge into field lacrosse yet. They were still box lacrosse, and there were a bunch of box lacrosse players out there playing field lacrosse. So they hadn't quite figured out the full strategy of the game, and we knew we had an advantage going in with all 20 players that played field lacrosse their whole life. So the comeback started, and Tierney was going nuts, and it was just got to a point where Tavares and the Gates and everybody was stepping up, and the ball just kept bouncing toward the Canadians' way. So it became an unbelievable game. There was amazing offense, amazing defense, some of the best saves I've ever seen from the goalies, and it became a legendary game right away. The crowd, a lot of the crowd had already left out in the parking lot, and they wouldn't let them back in, and people were jumping the fence to get back in the game. So it was.
They were in the parking lot. They were in the beer garden.
For sure.
Well, Casey, you were hurt. I remember. I mean, I was 6 weeks post back surgery. Yeah. And I know we had our little probably unspoken rivalry at that point, the two young guys. But I remember seeing you in the training room quite a bit. So it was like a knee or something, right?
Yeah. So I tore my MCL in an exhibition USA game against some Connecticut dummies 2 weeks prior. So I had a torn MCL, and but I was able to get out there and give a little bit of production, but I wasn't much of a factor, to be honest.
Well, you didn't get benched like we did. You just were hurt.
I was benched.
Ours was self-imposed because of the poor execution. Anyway, so the game ends the way it ends, and ultimately USA wins the 1998 championship. Go watch it on YouTube. But I think from a thumbs up, thumbs down perspective, Junes, we could probably give it, 2 thumbs down? And yeah, exactly.
Too
many. So you guys move on and quickly move on to the draft, right? The National Lacrosse League draft, we were talking about indoor for a bit, or for a long while. You guys get drafted, and Casey, you technically get drafted the year before Junes, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you went to Rochester, walked in the locker room for the first time. And what was that like for you?
Oh my God, it was so bizarre and so strange. First of all, my dream as a kid was to play lacrosse at Syracuse University, and here I am. It wasn't to play for the Rochester Nighthawks or play pro or anything like that. So my dream I just finished my dream, and I'm happy. I'm happy as an athlete. I could have ended it there and been fulfilled from an athletic standpoint. So, but anyways, I get drafted. I tell
Mikey.
I tell I show up to walk in the locker room, and I don't know. I was drafted in 1999. Kurt Mouse Malowski already had number 22. So I'm like, all right, I've always been 22 my whole life. I'll wear 99. That's the jersey I got right now. Instantly, the Canadians say, "Oh, you think you're Gretzky? Hey, I'll kick your." So it's not what I intended, but it gave me a little extra beat down. But I wasn't a good teammate. I wasn't prepared to play box lacrosse. I had exhausted all my intentions playing college lacrosse. So at that point, I wasn't ready. But I did enjoy it, and I learned a lot from it.
So speaking of bad teammates, Junior, you got drafted the year after.
Yeah,
what happened? What happened when you walked into that locker room and Casey's there?
Well, I mean, obviously like you said, we met each other a few times and knew who he was. And I grew up my whole life trying to be better than my dad. So anyone that I saw that was really, really good, like Casey was, I wanted to be better than, whether they're on my team or against. So I don't remember us talking very much, but I do remember.
That's definitely a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, like old school training before a practice where guys would sit in a circle and shoot the crap a little bit and do some giggling. And like 3 guys over, Kurt Malosky, who I didn't know, I just remember this big beak. He's like, oh, I wonder if that Grant guy's going to show up, and started rambling off all these things about, why is he holding out? This guy thinks he's better than us. And I was sitting in the stretch. I'm like, oh, hey, bud, how you doing? But it was kind of like Casey got it. I thought I was much better than that team. I just watched a bit of a game the other day just to kind of prepare for this. And, we have all Hall of Famers on that team, Case. And
yeah,
we were losing early. I got ambushed by Kurt Malosky, Pat O'Toole, Randy Mearns, Dewey Jacobs, and Steve Dietrich in a hotel room in Philly after we got pumped. And they're just like, this is our team. It's not your team. And we had some tears and maybe some fisticuffs, and we wanted a bit of a run. But Case, you might remember, we had a kind of an internal kind of brawl in Rochester, and our goon fought a guy on our team. But then we went on a run, and of course, not unlike the 98 World Championship, I was part of probably one of the best box lacrosse championships that we lost with a second ago. And I don't think I've talked to Caleb Toth since.
Were you on the bench for that one too?
Well, I don't play defense in indoor. or it wouldn't have been a 1-goal game. It would have been like a 10-goal game. But yeah, I don't know. It was Maple Leaf Gardens. It was packed. Casey had, I think, 2 short-handed rippers, top corner. I think we got along really well that game. We were rolling.
I just shot. I had no idea where it was going.
Who's the most accurate? Between the two of you, who's most accurate?
2-4. 2-4 all day.
Yeah, Casey, I've seen CP. I've seen you throw some balls in a coffee can with a backhand when they were CNI shots that I was like, how did he do that?
Yeah, there was a run where I was on fire later on in my career, but certainly not at that point. But I don't know if you watch John's Twitter. He's still doing the backyard games at 45 years old still. So he's the accurate competitor.
Yeah, well, Steve did let me throw a ball off of his helmet. Water bottle,
I trusted him to do that. I don't know that I would have trusted Casey to do that.
He might not have hit you. He might have got you.
Yeah. The other day while we're quarantined, my son and I go out into the park with a giant garbage can, and we're trying to throw balls in from about 25 to 30 yards. And I realized just how terrible that a lacrosse player that I am, because he pumped me. And then we FaceTime Junior to talk about how many shots he would have got in, and he would have put every one of them in, and I kept missing. So,
well, you're looking for somebody to set a pick on.
Yeah, well, you can't fight the garbage can.
Cali BBQ is proud to be an official sponsor of your San Diego Seals. Buy our slow smoked barbecue at any Seals home game or online anytime at www.calibbq.media.
Talking about fights, Casey, first fight in the National Lacrosse League.
Oh, it was, John and his buddies up there in the Great White North, they grow up fighting, scrapping part of the game, they govern the game and all that. It's disallowed in the U.S., so not a lot of fighting during games. And I'm in Buffalo, and it was a packed house, 17,000 fans. Everybody's going nuts. It's almost halftime, and a guy named Tyler Francie comes after me from the Buffalo bench. And
yikes!
I look out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of wrestle him down. The crowd's going crazy. He got a couple hits in. I threw a couple pillows at him and didn't phase him. But fight breaks up. I'm like, oh, whew, I didn't get killed here in front of the home crowd. The Buffalo's going nuts. So they put us in the penalty box. There's only 1 second left before halftime. So I served the 1 second. I go into halftime. I come out. I serve the 4 minutes and 59 seconds as the second half starts. It's an intense game. I get let out of the box of the penalty, and I hear Kilgore say, "Get him again." So Tyler Francie comes running after me. I see him out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of hip flip him over. I get on top of him, and I'm wrestling him down again. He gets a couple in. I throw a couple more pillows at him. Well, anyways, 2 fights in the NLL. ejected from the game. So there's a whole second half left to play. We're in this. He goes to his locker room. I go to mine. My adrenaline's pumping so hard. I grab my lacrosse shaft thinking he's going to come down the hallway and get me. So I'm waiting in the locker room, grabbing my shaft, just looking at the door. By the time that I'm the only one in there, the third quarter, okay, finally I hold the shaft, I grab a beer, okay, and all I can hear is the buffalo horn going, so I know we're getting crushed out there. And finally I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a shower. About 7 minutes left in the game. You can see the score clock. And I grab the shaft and I go up there and I grab the shaft. I'm showering and everything. I'm thinking, looking over the door, Tyler Francie's still going to come in and kill me. But
he wasn't a small guy.
He wasn't a small guy, but I didn't get
not a small guy.
But
he didn't chase you into the shower. He didn't chase you into the shower. No,
that's good. That's a good thing.
June, tell us about
one. I only had one
fight.
Yep, ACC Toronto Rock had finally had enough of that team. Headshots, and so of course I didn't grab Coyle or Lattiser or any of those guys so I grabbed Chris Driscoll. I ripped his helmet
tough
up.
Guy.
Yeah. And, well, he two-handed my knee brace, and I got really mad when they went after my knee. The only other guy that do that was Billy D. Smith, but I'm not fighting him. So I get his helmet off, I throw a punch, and then he drops down to, like, the ground. On his way down, my trunks go down. It was one of the only games we won in Toronto. And I remember in the Toronto Sun, which is a big paper up there, was a Rock loses bummer, and it's a picture literally of my, spandex. Looks like my bare bottom, and pretty proud of that. I'll take it 1-0.
Nice. So Casey, you played for 6 NLL teams. Junior, you played for 7 MLL teams. So not to give you guys the nickname Suitcase, but what was both of you in both respective leagues, like, favorite team you played for?
Well, my favorite NLL teams were the Titans. We had some great success. I really did, looking back, enjoy the Nighthawk experience, and I always wanted to play in the Loud House. So Steve, you gave me that opportunity towards the end of my career to come out. You even pulled Gary Gates' jersey down from the rafters, and I got to play with John. So for playing years in Colorado, a place where you really felt like a pro athlete after all those years. Anytime I went there and played against Colorado, the Mammoth, you always wished you were on that part of that franchise. So I was looking at video today just to prepare a little bit for our discussion, and the video came up of us doing the kind of the Rudy jersey thing, and Gator comes in and gives the jersey back. Classic.
And I laughed because I think you wore it for 4 games and then you quit.
Don't even get me started. I don't know if I'm more mad about that or you wearing a visor in 07 in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you why I quit. So I wasn't having great success anyways. It was a long career. I'm in my convertible in South Florida driving to the Fort Lauderdale airport. You put me on a triple connector to Edmonton, and I drove in the airport and right out. I was like, I can't be doing this for a 2-hour game. That was my last NLL experience.
Nice. I don't blame you. But, hey, man, lots of guys do it, right? June's lots of guys do it. MLL team, though. June's your 7 MLL teams. What would you say was your favorite experience? Which team?
I think our Rattler team, we had a couple 2-year run there, Case, where I put that team up against the Bayhawk team with Gate, Marichek, your brother Mikey.
Yeah.
And we were always I know you and I would discuss this over a couple of years. It was like, okay, whatever team gets Brody probably wins that one.
Yeah.
But we had a tremendous run there. So I think that was probably my favorite. I mean, you always remember your first championship, and we really did, kind of crap the bed in 07 in Rochester. Casey's brother was like the halftime rock show in between games. You remember that?
Forgot about that.
Yeah, but we blew that, but it all came together in Boston. Won that championship. So that was a good one. I enjoyed our time at Bayhawks. They put us back together for that one.
Yep.
I remember coming back after winning that one, and, hey, Steve, I don't know if you know, I won another. He goes, I don't care. You're here to win championships with the Mammoth. You can't even win a playoff game. Like, I gotta
Yeah.
go. But yeah, I mean,
No,
I was MLL kind of a hobby. I don't know if Casey, that was kind of your feeling on NLL, but yeah, teams just like, we'll use you up and spit you out. But I enjoyed playing with the Outlaws. That was because I was living here, thanks to Steve.
I told you to pick one. Why? Pick one means pick one. Now you're going with four different teams.
Well, I got a lot of people out there. I don't want to upset anybody.
You weren't very good at math. You never were very good at math.
But unfortunately,
all right.
I'm Gabby's math teacher.
That's scary.
A quick break. This episode is sponsored by Manscaped.com. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. If you've been listening to our channel for a while, you know that we are big fans of Manscaped and their Perfect Package Essentials Kit, which is the world's finest all-in-one manscaping kit that makes manscaping safe and easy. And just when you think they've got it all figured out, they take it to the next level. I'm excited to be one of the first to confirm that after 18-plus months of research and development, the new Lawnmower 3.0 waterproof body trimmer has just been released and comes with a ton of new upgrades. Get 20% off plus free shipping from your Perfect Package 3.0 purchase when you use promo code SEALS20 at manscaped.com. That's code SEALS20 for 20% off at manscaped.com. Now, back to the pod.
So, Junes, do your best Tracy Kelusky impression. I think you have to take your hat off. You have to take your hat off for this.
I'll have to put a dip in and talk really fast. And can I sub in like one of those auctioneers? He's the fastest talking human of all time. Like
he is a pretty fast talker.
Yeah, it is. Talk about a vein popping out of his head. Now that he's bald, it just pops out, and you got to be like, dude, breathe. And then he comes back. Does he have
the beard like you have? He has the beard that you have, does he?
Yeah, he's about 100 pounds lighter though. So,
Casey, best Gary Gate impression.
Hey, Paulie, we gotta go pick up Tommy. We're gonna go out east, and we're gonna go to a school called Syracuse. Me, you, and Tommy. We'll dial it up. We'll wear some bad numbers, and then we'll switch them, and we'll get them going. And I can use my nice shooter pocket that I got going. I strung it up on the way here, so maybe we can do that, eh?
The funny thing is, Gator's been doing that like Gator would show up to Wings games when we played together on the Wings, and he would literally have a stick with no mesh, and he would have a shirt that he just purchased still in the plastic with all the pins and stuff in it. That was Gator's thing. Pre-game, he'd string the stick. Post-game, he would take the shirt out, put it in the shower, and kind of get it steamed out and put it on and go out. Like after he scored, 6, 7, 8 goals and had four or five guys carry him to the net. Let me ask you a question. Does Paul Gate get a bad rap in the history of lacrosse because of Gary and and everybody else, because of you, Casey? Everybody that wears 22 is revered at Syracuse, but 19 nobody remembers.
Yeah,
I think Carcaterra wore 19, didn't he?
Yeah, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Right?
People talk about him. It's Gary and Paul. And then all of a sudden, over the past 6, 7 years, now it's Gary. Paul was just as good. Paul didn't do the air gate, didn't get put on that pedestal for pulling off that insane move, but he was every bit just as good. When Gary's talked about, should always be talked about Paul. I've always wanted to get a T-shirt that says "For Paul Gate" because he always gets the shaft.
But Paul did the air gate, but he does it 2 games later or something like that wasn't televised. And so the one against Penn that Gary did first, right? I think they probably did it 1,000 times in practice, and Gary just pulled it off in a game. And then, and then Paul does it later on, and maybe in more spectacular fashion. And Gary gets credit for the air gate. What about you, Jins? What you think? Do you think Paul gets the shaft? I mean, you spent a lot of time with Paul and Roch.
Yeah, but it's funny you talk about Kelusky, and he's like my brother growing up. But we would always get in like fights over who was better. And Tracy always took Paul's side because Paul was more unselfish and Paul got more assists. And Tracy wasn't a stat guy because I don't think he ever looked at a stat sheet ever, including his own. But yeah, I mean, I think Gary just played a little bit longer. And I think when Paulie went and started a franchise in Syracuse, and obviously Gary goes out to the Mammoth, and it was just, I don't know. They're like you said, they're identical twins for a reason. I mean, I watched them play since I was a little kid, and probably just like Casey did, I watched more of their indoor stuff. But I mean, those guys, that secret of our success, Case, I don't know if you have that VHS.
Oh yeah.
That literally was the tape and the reason I started playing field lacrosse.
Yeah.
I went to the superintendent, the principal at St. Peter's, and I said, I want to start a field lacrosse team. Like, what? And I played that little 25 minutes. They're like, find a coach, and we did. So I mean, like,
you don't think it was
all of us on this Zoomcast right now? Oh, those two are our careers in this game. So there's no doubt.
Yeah, 100%, and a lot of other guys as well, no question. But you don't think so? The Gary Gate PSA that says "Don't do drugs" didn't influence your career?
I didn't see that one.
Oh my God! Okay, YouTube. You look it up. It's the Gary Gate PSA. Casey, you've seen this, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't get that channel up in Peterborough.
Yeah, it was probably a Syracuse thing.
You probably got paid for it.
The crystal meth capital of the world, Syracuse. I don't know that that's true. I'm just making that up. That's actually Pueblo, Colorado. But anyway. So locker rooms, you walk into an NLL locker room. Who do you not want to sit next to in an NLL locker room? Any locker room, history, today, next year, last year, locker room, opponent, teammate, opponent. Who do you not want to sit next to?
You take it?
Well, for me, what pops into my head, I guess, would be guys that I don't relate to.
Tyler Francie.
Well, Tyler Francie, we can put him as number 3. But I was thinking Jeff Snyder, and I was thinking Rory Smith. They're guys that don't. They're beaten to a different drum out there. Both nice guys off the floor, but you get them in that arena and something weird's going on up there. So I'd rather not be sitting next to those two.
I'd love to see those two sit next to each other in a locker room, though. Like those two sit next to each other. That'd be kind of funny.
They'd be great on TFL.
I should do that.
You should do
that on TFL. June, how about you? Who do you not want to sit next to?
Well, I was going to say Schneider because he's the most high-maintenance human being ever. But I'll say Creighton Reed because he had the smelliest equipment. And I don't think he ever washed his underneath, like the warm-up shirt. So, I mean, it was flies around him. So on a personal note, sorry, reader, but and I'll just say basically any face-off guy, name one.
Yeah, no kid, face-off.
They have 75s fixed. They don't want to talk to anybody. They're listening to, like, some sort of meditation. And I don't stop talking. So if you put earphones on and tune me out, you're going to another spot of the room.
I went and played golf with Jeff Schneider in Westburg a couple months ago. We played at Torrey Pines with my father-in-law, who's 89 years old, and he was in the Army for a lot of years. And I was actually like embarrassed because Jeff Schneider couldn't stop dropping F-bombs, and I was like, and then my father-in-law starts getting into it, and I've never heard the guy swear. And I'm like, what? The influence that Jeff Schneider has on people is like toxic. Anyway, we had fun. We had a lot of fun there. But hey, let me tell you, you guys both coach kids. You do a lot of youth coaching or have done youth coaching in the past. I know you're both coaching in college and doing your thing now. But what's the biggest pet peeve when you coach a kid? I mean, this is a good PSA for all those parents out there that put their kids in programs. You have kids at camp. What's the most annoying thing that those kids do at a camp?
For me, I hate the fact that I have to tell them to go full speed. So we're here training kids. Okay, we're here trying to get better and push our threshold as players. How are you not going as hard as you possibly can? It makes no sense to me. If you're not going to train as hard as you can during training sessions, when do you ever think you're going to turn it on? So nobody ever had to tell me to go hard. I hate it when I have to tell a kid to go hard.
Junes, how about you?
Parents. And as soon as that popped in my head, it's like I'm trying to coach your kid and you're coaching them at the same time. And not just me. I mean, helicopter parents, I think, Case, you're right. Kids that don't go full speed, and I think that's kind of becoming the thing now. And I know your daughter's older, but Gabby sometimes will do the same thing. And from how much I can't stand the helicopter parent or the sideline parent, I just refuse to do that for Gabby, even though I'm pretty sure I may or may not know a little bit more than the coaches she's got. But I let it be her thing. And I think, growing up with a dad coach, I think it's important. But yeah, I think parent influence on a kid is the worst. Just drop them off and pick them up after.
That was not nearly as funny as I wanted it to be. So that question, it's a brutal question, terrible. We'll have to edit that out. But at the end of the day, my favorite is the MOF fine. I used to give an MOF fine when the kids were little. Mom on the field. The mom that runs on the field whenever their kid, fell in the dirt and, they had to stop play and run on the field. The MOF fine was my favorite.
Another quick break. Coronado Brewing Company is proud to be the official craft beer partner of the Seals. Enjoy fan favorite Orange Avenue Wit and their new Salty Crew Blonde Ale all season long, and visit coronadobrewing.com to find their award-winning beers near you. Stay coastal. Cheers.
So I'm going to just throw a couple names out. I want your first reaction to these names, and so it's just I'm gonna name out. I want you both to kind of give me your thought process. Casey, you go first on this one. Sean Evans.
Overall, great.
Tenacious.
Matt Vince.
Best goalie ever.
Bad trade.
I agree. Pat Coyle.
Goon. Total goon.
Yeah, between Case and I, how many headshots?
Jamie Hanford.
Jamie Hanford.
Who is the next guest on the TFL Zoomcast?
Man Cub.
Hardest slash ever.
Jamie Hanford.
Yep.
Really?
Harder than, I've had a lot of people hit me. I don't run. I don't have Casey's leg. Hardest. He'd hit my right arm, my left arm would be bruised.
Mark Millen.
Competitor.
Waterbug.
Brian Langtree. I'll end it with Brian Langtree.
Psychotically impressive.
Well,
yeah. Intense?
You had
Intense.
Junior.
That's a good one. Intense. That's it.
Well, this is a PG show.
I hear you.
You might know.
What makes you jealous about the other guy?
Well, I'm jealous that John's still playing, so I'm not going to lie. And I tried to get ready for a summer of pro lacrosse, but the body's just not responding. So my day's done.
It was the three-leg.
And John's out there exploring BTBs, and I'm jealous over that fact for sure.
Three legs to Edmonton. Three legs to Edmonton.
I went to San Diego when you and Gator went. I wanted, if you were going to sign, I was going to beg to sign too.
That was what we had it sitting around the fire. I had all these great players sitting around the fire. 15 years earlier, it would have been a really great team. Not enough balls, but would have been a great team.
Yeah, you know what? I'm jealous of Casey's toughness. It's something no one knows. They talk about the three brothers and all the rest of the 22s. I watched teams beat Casey up in junior lacrosse that I've never seen any human being take. And he got up every time. Even though Coyle tried to finally put the final nail in the coffin, you came back.
I thought it was normal. I was new to that. I thought it was just normal. Like, oh, this is what do you do? Okay.
Not that one.
All right, so I'm gonna produce a movie in an NLL movie, and you guys are casting my movie, and you get to cast the other guy. Who plays the other guy in a movie and why?
You're gonna Rowan Atkinson.
Who?
Mr. Bean. I talked to Reagan before this, and I'm like, who do you think Casey looks like? She's pulling up all these good-looking guys. I'm like, screw that.
John Hamm. I get John Hamm sometimes.
Mr. B. John Hamm.
That's a good one.
I don't know.
Does this make you feel good? Does this make you feel good?
I don't know. I'd say Val Kilmer for John.
Val Kilmer. Wow. Strong call.
Top Gun, in his prime. Val Kilmer
Oh.
in his prime.
In his prime, I'm thinking more Val Kilmer in The Doors when he played Jim Morrison.
Yes.
Real genius. Good movie.
Real
I actually
I'm
wore
not.
in all 4 of my colleges just like him in that movie.
That's awesome. So who plays the movie then? Who plays the nemesis in your movie, Junior?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Who is the nemesis character in that movie? We'll figure out who plays him later on, but who's the character?
Well, the question is Val Kilmer and Rowan Atkinson in the movie together as a team?
No, it's a different movie. You guys star in your own movies. You're stars amongst yourselves. You are TFLs.
Oh, well, then I'll have to go Tom Cruise. So name any short guy in NLL that's won more championships. I can name a bunch.
Tracy Kaluski.
Tracy Kaluski. There you go. The crazy short Joe Pesci, maybe. There you go.
So, well, he plays it, but who's the character? Who is the guy that's your nemesis?
Even though he's my best friend and my brother, I'll say Tracy.
Oh, wow. How about you, Case?
I'd say John. I'd say Junior.
Junior plays the nemesis in your movie.
He'd be a good nemesis.
Then can I be Ben Affleck? He
Yeah,
did take you down. He took you down in the town.
Sure.
There you go.
So lacrosse, there's been a few movies about lacrosse, a couple documentaries here and there. I know there's another one Bob Carpenter's working on that's really cool. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Casey. It's coming soon. Really cool and exciting. But if there was a 30 for 30 in the world of lacrosse, indoor, outdoor, pro, college, let's suggest pro here. But if there's a 30 for 30, what is it about and why?
I think it's about the Casey Powell and John Grant Jr. story, following both of them from youth. They came from nothing and made it to the top of our sport. And I think it'd be unbelievable and intriguing and mind-blowing.
We'd have to put that one on ESPN Classic.
What do you mean? I'm still playing.
Are you?
Well,
Still shooting.
So, yeah, I'm scared. Is that what you call it? So, Judes, how about you? 30 for 30 about the sport. Who's it about? What's it about?
I'd like to do one about me and Casey, but like we said before, I'd love. I mean, I'm watching The Last Dance with Jordan, and Gary's my Jordan, so I'd love to see. I mean, he likes to talk about some of the old stuff with him and Paul, but I'd like a deep dive into what brought them to be the guys that were on my wall growing up, and he's on my wall right now. So I don't know, Casey, if you agree, but to actually get in, I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't come from very much in Victoria. I think I read a story that no one in their family had ever even really heard of lacrosse before, so that would be.
Yeah. Yep. I think watching, listening, or hearing a story on the Peterborough Lakers, the Lake Show would be awesome, and also how lacrosse is prevalent on the reservations. I think that's a world that a lot of lacrosse players don't really know all about, but it's very intriguing and a very, very special place.
I think a story of the Man Cup would be good.
Yep.
Because those are
the history of the Man Cup. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I do. Look, I think the 98 World Championship, I know we started with that, and it's not much fun for us in the end, but the storylines and the narratives that are kind of permeating throughout that whole championship process to lead up to that particular game, I think the game exists on tape, which I think you could use But the storylines that go through that, I think, are pretty fantastic and amazing. And I think it encompasses a lot of legendary names and in the history of our game. And I think ultimately it still strikes me as the greatest game ever played in all of lacrosse. And I could be wrong, because there's been a lot more since then, and I just happen to be partially involved in that. But look, the Gary Gates story and the Paul Gates story is an interesting one.
You just did it. You did it. You just gave Paul. You threw Paul under the bus by calling the Gary Gates story rather than the Gate Brothers story. But go ahead.
Also starring Paul Gate.
The reason I say that is because when they both went into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, I had the great pleasure to be there, and Paul's story that he told, and look, I've seen them go into a lot of Hall of Fames, right? And it's the obligatory thank you. Paul took a completely different approach in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame speech, and it was all about his brother Gary and what Gary did, and literally he was in tears, which I've never seen a Gate in tears, so this was intriguing. The Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame speech that Paul Gate does basically says that he doesn't go to Syracuse if Gary Gate doesn't say to Simi, "I'm not going unless you take my brother." And so Gary was getting recruited, and Paul says straight up, Gary says straight up, "I'm not going to go to Syracuse unless you take Paul." And so Paul, that these guys have for each other is a pretty special moment. So look, we've gotten a little heavy here. I didn't want to do that in the TFL podcast. It's supposed to be much more fun than that, but it is worth noting. So I know you guys have great reverence for both of those guys, and as do I, and everybody we'll talk to in the future of this podcast is going to feel the same way. But look, I want to end with one question, and I think I know the answer because I have a daughter as well. But you guys are both girl dads. Kobe was a girl dad. It's a special feeling. You're not probably at the age where they're dating yet. Casey, you're getting closer than Junior, but a lacrosse player comes calling at some point in your future. Do you let her date the lacrosse player?
Go ahead, John. I'd like you to go first on this one.
Well, the best little lacrosse player in my daughter's school is her age. He lives 4 doors down. They're from Maryland, so I have a feeling if we're still here, maybe I'll get a job somewhere else just so I can remove myself. Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. I'm just enjoying the 10-year-old Gabby right now. I mean, she's already, acting like a teenager from time to time. So I'm just going to pass it on to you because you are definitely closer.
Just say none. I know.
Well, actually, if there's one lacrosse player I've met my entire life that if this guy came around again would be Eric Law, and I don't know if Casey, if you know him very well, but
yeah,
Govett, right?
Yeah,
and he still looks like he's only 12 anyway. So who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know, Casey. Canadian. Bella's a Canadian. For those that don't know.
And I'm glad you didn't bring up the 2006 World Championship. So luckily we're out of time here. No, I just, it's a tough thing to approach, but you just hope for the best. Hope they meet somebody nice that takes care of them and treats them the right way. But yeah, it's not a question I really enjoy, Steve. So I'm still trying to buy a little bit more time.
Well, good. I appreciate that. I have a daughter, and if a lacrosse player comes calling, I would not answer the door.
That's why you sent her to the SEC.
I did. Yeah, there was very few lacrosse players down there. So, is there any teammates that are from your history that would be completely off limits to your daughter?
Yeah, I already told you, everyone but one.
Yeah, same answer. Everyone.
Well, fellas, we did this in about 50 minutes. I appreciate you guys getting on my first ever podcast, TFL Zoomcast in quarantine. will be the episode that goes down in history. I love spending time with you guys. I always love spending time with you guys. I'm glad we got to share that with lots of other people. So hopefully we get this thing out there and you guys can push it out for me. But I'd love to do this again sometime and maybe have you guys on with other guests. And you've certainly given me some great ideas for the future. But thanks for being on episode number 1.
Hey, they've always said you have a great face for radio, but this TFL's got some legs here. Hey, thanks a lot for having us on TFL. You always bring John and I out to do something when you launch something, then we never hear from you again. So I guess next time you launch something, we'll say hi again.
Well, I don't pay you, so I don't feel like I should call you if I'm not paying you for something.
Well, Steve knows if it's work, I'm probably going to be late, so he doesn't say anything about it. So, but no, I appreciate it, Steve. Everything you're doing for the game is awesome. And Casey, hopefully I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Thanks a lot.
See you, fellas.